Hey everyone, I'm Coach Toni. Welcome to Coach Toni's Table, where the madness always meets the method. This is the writing on the board. Should we be holding students back? What do we do with students that are academically ahead of their peers? Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Writing on the Board podcast. Thank you for joining me. My name is Coach Toni. If this is the first time that you're here, I am a mathematics educator who has created this platform to give frustrated teachers a space to let out what is frustrating them anonymously so that I can share it anonymously, so I can catalog it through this podcast platform, and I can give other teachers, educators, people in the education space, sounding boards or springboards, I should say, for conversations to happen in their community, their district, because the teaching profession is currently extremely strained. Hundreds of thousands of teachers have left in a very short period of time. The writing's on the board, in my opinion, or I should say the writing's on the wall, right? But the teacher wall is our board. So the writing's on the board, but I do feel like the people in places of power are not reading it. And I think they need someone to spell it out for them. And the concern a lot of times is that expressing how you really feel in a district or in a school may put you at odds with certain people or make you seem overly negative when it's just how you feel, right? So I want to be that person to be able to take in what you say and then read it and talk about it from my lens. Obviously, I'm not the end-all be-all of education. It's going to be from my lens. But at the same time, I would charge you with taking that conversation back and giving it your own lens within your community. The other part of this is that if I do receive a submission where I think that I have a network of people that could answer it better or can provide solutions or are better at talking about this or would be fun to talk about it with, I'll bring them on to talk about it with me. But if not, it'll just be me reading it out. And hopefully I get more and more submissions to be able to let people know publicly what it is you feel without you having to be outed like that, if that makes sense. There is a submission that I got from someone who calls themselves Sophia. Please understand, if you are listening to this, that I am getting a panel together for your submission as well. So thank you for making it. It may not come out, that episode may not come out for a little bit because everyone who I have already said yes. However, they're all busy. So I want to make sure I respect their time and choose a time that's applicable for everyone. I intend to have about 3 to 4 people on that episode. So definitely be on the lookout for that. And thank you for your submission. If you would like to make a submission to the Writing on the Board, visit www.thewritingontheboard.com/submit. I look forward to hearing from you. Okay, so today's episode, I'm going to say, is something that I think I might leave people with more questions than answers, but I charge you with creating a conversation about this in your own community and seeing what happens. So I'm going to read 2 submissions and then talk about it. First person says, unpopular opinion. We need to go back to holding students back a grade if they do not show the requisite skills to move on, regardless of how it emotionally impacts them. This is the most common argument I hear against holding students back. I'm not encouraging that we emotionally hurt students. I'm getting really depressed reading reports about how many high school students can't read above a kindergarten level. I'm talking specifically about students that have spent elementary through high school in American public school systems. If they are falling behind, why push them on? Thoughts on the matter? Okay. And then the second person that I came across said this, and I'm going to read this in part. Watching Abbott Elementary has me wondering about gifted programs and self-esteem messaging. If you get subpar value enough, you feel like you deserve it. Ouch. We don't have a program yet, but I'm curious. What have you learned by training or experience about the dynamic of a pull-out gifted program? Do you support? Is there a way to not isolate students that lack the same proficiencies? At what point do you advance a student? What do you do for the gifted when there is no program, no resources, and no advancement option? First of all, shout out to Abbott Elementary. If you have not watched Abbott Elementary and you are an educator, please do so. I think that show is spot on at highlighting some of the things that teachers go through. It is also funny. Quinta, you have done your thing with that one. I call it, I'm going to put it out there in the air. I'm going to have Quinta on this show at some point. Okay. I'm going to just put it out there and I'm going to make it happen. But shout out to the whole Abbott Elementary crew. I think this is so appropriate at this time. It couldn't have come at a better time. And it's hilarious. Let me tell you, I know, like, for the characters that are there, I have people in real life that I'm like, that's that person. That's that person. But I digress. The episode this person is referring to is the episode that aired on February 1st, I believe, where Quinta's character, Janine Teagues, realizes that there are students that are academically ahead of their peers, right? And I don't even like to use the word gifted because I think everyone is gifted, right? You're just academically ahead at the time. I was labeled gifted as a child, and then it somehow just leveled off. Like, I don't think I'm that gifted anymore. I don't, and I have my gifts, but to say someone's gifted, like, it just sounds like they don't have any weaknesses, and I totally do. Everyone does. I just happen to be, adept at certain things, and those happen to be things that are quote unquote valued in the society. It is what it is. Either way, Quinta's character, Janine Teagues, was tired of asking the students to sharpen pencils, giving them extra work, giving them other students' work to grade, and they would just eat that up and come back and be like, I'm done. What do I do? Right? She suggests creating a gifted program. But what happens is you start to see certain things that happen in schools, right? The principal starts making very distinct differentiations between the students. So she's like, come on, smart kids, or I don't know the exact words, but the way she said it was so, busting into the middle of class and taking all the kids out that are academically ahead. And other teachers realizing, like, you just took all the students who participate in my class. Like, what's going to happen to, like, that's so many things were talked about. And it just started a conversation on the blogs and all the social medias for teachers because we were all like, yeah, we completely understand the divide, right? We want students to be challenged, but we also want students to be with their peers. We don't want them to feel like one student is smarter than the other or one student is dumb. We don't want to give students an idea that they can never get better or, they're not smart. And so I thought about it before I did this episode, and here's what I came up with. I think that the practice of having students grouped by age is archaic. And what I'm saying is radical because this is not something that will be implemented tomorrow. But just hear me out and create the conversation wherever you exist to see if this is something that even makes sense for you. The practice of grouping students by age is archaic and only exists in a school setting. We are leaning as a nation towards incorporating real life into schools to keep kids engaged. But real life is meeting and engaging with people who are not your age. So why does every class have to be grouped by age? Just a thought, right? Because even when you talk to homeschool parents, right? What grade your kid in? They'd be like, well, by age, she should be in 10th grade. But she's in 11th grade social studies and 8th grade this and 9th grade that and, 12th grade this. And, when she's done, she's done. And that's fine. So why isn't it fine for our students? And this is not just about the action. This is also about the talk around it, right? There's so much talk about students being on grade level that it becomes demeaning to be not on grade level, when it simply means you just don't know something. The culture that I have in my classroom, when my students walk in, I tell them right away, I said, the reason why you're here is that you don't know something. Be proud of that and advocate for yourself because the reason why I'm here is to fill in those gaps for you. And they look at me like, be proud of that. I was like, yes, like if you knew everything that you needed to know, you would not be in this class. You'd be in the next class. You'd be in 8th grade or you'd be in 9th grade, depending on what grade I was teaching. And so because you're here, you should not feel, I want everyone to start to strip off that shame of I don't know something because that's exactly why you're here. And I tell them, I said, when I went to college, let me tell you something. I stopped the professor every single time I didn't know something because I'm only hurting myself by not asking clarifying questions, by not admitting I don't know something, by not asking that he demonstrate or show me an example or model something for me. I came there to get what I need to get and leave. And so should you, right? So I spent that first week or two just building up their confidence in saying, I don't know. I don't understand. And being like, that's completely okay. Coach Toni doesn't know everything either. Coach Toni about to go ask some questions too because she don't understand a bunch of things, right? And it starts to loosen them up a little bit. because I can't get anything done if the students feel afraid. And that's the other thing too. Yes, there is so much talk about, oh, differentiation, scaffolding, giving them extension, da 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 da. But we have a wide range. Many schools today have students who are academically above by leaps and bounds and academically below by leaps and bounds. One of my 6th grade classes, I had students performing on kindergarten level and had students performing on an 8th grade level in the same class. So yes, while you can build a curriculum and build lesson plans to address these needs, once you're doing it with 30 other students in the room at the same time that all have their specific deficiencies and abilities, it makes it difficult, okay? Not to mention, those who teach middle school have the added challenge of gathering groups of students from different schools all across the district, having to teach them, not knowing where all of them left off, right? Because we all know, especially in math, and I speak for math specifically, the curriculums that are published don't necessarily line up with the calendar. Most schools have told me you're not going to teach everything, so just make sure you teach what's going to be on the state exam by the state exam. It is the conversation. And so there are some schools that leave out some things, right? Scratch that. We don't need that lesson. Don't do that unit. If we get to it in June, we get to it. We may not get to it. Whatever the case may be. And then what happens is they all go to middle school. And then it's like, did you learn this? Did your teacher teach you that? And then how did they teach you? That's a whole different story, because maybe they did teach you, but they didn't do the theory properly. Different topic. What I'm saying is that I don't think that we should continue to group students by their age. Students have siblings that vary in age. I have students say, oh, my sister's 32 and they're in 6th grade. Oh, my sister's 4 and they're in 6th grade, right? You start to learn etiquette around how to interact with students of a certain age. And if we have a conversation and we make the conversation around that positive, what's the problem? Obviously, we would have to phase out the current students who are in school now because they're going to feel a type of way. Let me tell you something, and this is personal. I hope my husband doesn't kill me. I made the very, very big decision as an educator to leave my daughter back in kindergarten twice. And by daughter, I mean stepdaughter. But I just feel like she wasn't ready. And so she had switched schools and they were like, we can put her in 1st grade. And I said, can we put her in kindergarten? And it was a charter school, so they were able to do that. But I just wanted her to do kindergarten again because I felt like the second time around she would hear it, she'd be ready, and she would feel more confident going into 1st grade. And I get it. She was way younger then and didn't understand the implications of what I was doing. But my husband did give me pushback. He was like, oh, I don't want my baby to be looked at like that. And I said, trust me, at this point, she's too young to understand. But I said, if we don't make it a big thing, they won't either. If we start this level, like the students who are entering school for the first time in 2022 off in a sense of you're in the place where you will learn best, and you may be with someone older, you may be with someone younger. What's the problem, right? Like, literally, we go to work and we're not with people that are our age. We can be with someone older, someone younger, someone our age, someone way, way older, way, way younger. You interact in any type of social setting. You're not with everyone that's your age. For the most part, you can't expect to go through life with people your age. Even once you leave high school and you go to college, that your first class could be with someone. You could sit next to someone who's 100 or sit next to someone who's 15. Like, you're never going to ever be guaranteed a space in life where no one is a different age from you. Then why do we do it in school? If we are able to develop a program that allows for people to understand how to appropriately interact with people who are other ages for them, I think that would be good socially, honestly. And then on top of that, to be able to say like, hey, this is what you know, this is where you're strong, this is where you're weak. And not make that a bad thing. I think that's the biggest thing to take away from this conversation. Stop creating a culture where not knowing something is bad. That's the takeaway. Start to tell your students that they may not know something, and that's okay. And then challenge them with finding the answer or figuring out what they need to do to get themselves somewhere. There's nothing wrong with not knowing something. And there's something that you're good at. Those two things I think need to be so ingrained in our students. And then by extension, if we were ever able to do so, I think by the time someone gets to high school, I don't think they should be grouped by their age. I think they should be in the class that's appropriate for them. So no one's ever in a gifted class or a quote unquote normal or regular class. You're just in the class that applies to you. In that class, of course, there could be a range of abilities, right? But it's not where you're sitting in a class and you are 7 years behind, or you're sitting in a class and you're 4 years ahead and you're struggling in both ends, because both of those tend to come with behavior issues because you're not challenged or you're overly stimulated and you can't handle it. And parents, if there's any parents listening, or if you're teaching or you're in the education space and you get to talk to parents, let's also start to create this narrative. You're in school because you don't know something. You're in school because you need education. Just like when you go to the store, you need something, right? When you go to the store to buy shoes, they're like, you don't have those shoes already? No. You're going into the store for the shoes. No one's supposed to shame you for not having the shoes. They're supposed to help you find your size, fit it to you, teach you about the product, how to clean it, how to whatever, package it for you and send you on your way, right? It'd be crazy if you go somewhere like, can I order a steak? It's like, you don't got a steak already? Can I order these shoes? You don't have those shoes already? What's wrong with you? You went into the store because you needed the thing that is there that the person has. You walk into the school because you need it. There should be no shame around someone walking into a school not knowing something. Because here's the thing too. A lot of schools put gifted students on a pedestal when they had nothing to do with their giftedness. And when I say gifted, I mean academically ahead. Many students who are academically ahead get put on a pedestal by principals that had nothing to do with the reason with their academically aheadness, for lack of better terms, because I'm getting fired up right now. I speak specifically from an experience I had in a school where every time someone came to the school, they were like, oh, this person, go greet them. Oh, this person, show them your work. Anytime we had any broadcasts to do or anything where the student had to be front and center, they would always choose a specific student. And if I slip up, I'm going to say their name. That's how much I've heard this person's name before. When we had the district come over, we had the chancellor come over, when we had any special guest, it was, oh, take them on a tour. Oh, this and this. Oh, this person will be planted at the front door reading a book. And the thing about it is, I know for a fact that student just has a really involved family that contributed to their academics. And so to parade this person as a poster child for the school when you don't really have that many more students who are that advanced is dangerous. And it promotes the wrong thing. It lets students wonder, like, why don't I know what he or she knows? Granted, those people in your school are an asset because now you can say, hey, can you help your peers? Can you explain to them what they don't know? Can you help me do this? Whatever. Let me tell you something. This kid was never in class. Always in the hallway, always in the principal's office, always somewhere else talking because it didn't serve him to be in class. He already knew everything that was going on. So he was the glorified assistant, helped everybody do everything else, was the impression of the school. I think in his case, it would have been advantageous for him to be in an advanced class, like to just go be in a 9th grade somewhere. I don't think it served him to be in 8th grade. Just go sit in 9th grade. That's what serves you. Like you got this down pat. Go somewhere else. So principals, please understand that it's damaging to schools and to students to see students elevated when no teacher in the building really had a hand in what they do. Granted, there are teachers who do wonderful work and that can accelerate students. But to be very honest, when you have 30 odd kids in a room, there's only so much advanced accelerating that you can do, right? So you can get students on grade level, you can move students, whatever the case may be. But to say, oh, our school had a specific hand and parade these students around when it's not even true is very, very damaging. And I hate it. I used to mention to my teacher best friend, I hate when they keep calling him. Why don't we call other students that have shown growth, have shown improvement? Why are we always calling the student that we know is going to go home and get enrichment that other students do not get? Why don't we show off the students that have been affected by teachers in this school? It may not show 5 years above grade level, but it will show that we're pushing students. But the thing about it is so many students are behind grade level that when we push students, it just looks mediocre. When teachers are burnt out because we done did a whole lot of pushing. And then when we get the test scores, it's like, they're barely hitting the mark. What's going on here? It's like, because did you see them when they came in? Did you see the work we did, right? Especially middle school when we have plenty of kids who come from different places. And and when you intertwine the trauma that they've been through, what they know, what they don't know, what did their parents, teach them when they were younger? Do they speak another language? Do they, all that put together, and the teachers are charged with pushing a class. And if we push them a few points, it's not even looked at if there's someone who's doing it better. Actually, in 2 schools, I have 2 names now that came just to my mind. We did a project in the park, and the news came, and they were like, "Where's the student? Where's the student? Come talk to the cameras." And it was like, no. Because then kids are just like, why do I even try? He came into the school smart. Like, what's the point? So there we go. Leaving it there. My ideal situation, at least by high school, kids are not going to class based on their age. They are going to whatever class suits them. My idea for our rhetoric around this is, you don't know something. That's it. That's why you're here. Period. Then we can start to allow students to just be where they need to be. And we don't need to call it gifted. We don't need to call it academically ahead. We just call it, we're servicing the students where they are. Period. There will be no need for pullouts because students will be where they need to be at the moment. And then we can just understand that, hey, when you go to college, you may be able to take a year off. You may be able to be with other people that are not your age. You may be able to find yourself for 15 years and then finally graduate in year 16. You may graduate quickly and early. Like, there's no set path, right? You don't even have to go to college. You can go to trade school. You can, blow up on social media and then don't have to work another day of your life. Passive income, whatever. There's so many paths for students. Why are we boxing them into, you must be with a person that's your age? Okay. And then that attaches the social emotional piece where it's like, hey, if you understand the etiquette around talking to somebody that's not your age or dealing with someone that's not your age, that shows maturity. Like, we have to, teach students everything anyway, right? What's the problem with giving them that other avenue to say, like, here's how you interact with your peers that are not your age, right? Here's how they may think, and here's how they develop, and charge the older students with being more mature and helping out. Why not? I don't think that's a problem. And then, of course, right, you have certain classes where you can bring everyone together or bring people of the same age together and have them interact and enjoy themselves. Obviously, more questions than answers, because what I'm saying and the implementation are 2 different things. This work continues. Anyway, I would like to dedicate this episode to my younger brother. For those of you who don't know or do know, my younger brother recently lost his legs last year, and I'm his legal guardian, and I look at life differently now, and I'm moved by his perseverance, and he has still expressed to me how much he wants me to go after my goals and succeed. So we're going to just dedicate every episode to him, because I think I wake up now every morning grateful for what I can do, and I want to let him know that I fully see him and I fully thank him for still supporting me even when he needs supporting. So that's it for this episode. Please tune in next week. Next week should be a really, really great episode. Have a really, really great guest coming, and it should be exciting because it's the last episode of the season. Hooray, hooray, hooray. So that's it. I'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
11 1 11, 11 2 22, 11 3 33, 11 4 44, 11 5 55, 11 6 66, 11 7 77, 11 8 88, 11 9 99, 11 10 110, 11 11 121, 11 12 132. You got it? I know you do.